Go. Okay, here we are for another Saturday Night Live with our very special guest, Vima. And we like to have everybody share their experience on, especially when they have done these master fasts that we teach, so we can learn from each other. So, how are you doing today, Vima?
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So maybe you want to tell us a little bit of your background, where you're raised, your diet like, and some situations you went through life, and how you came to find Master Fast. You want to go over a little bit of that, maybe?
I would love to. I was raised in the Midwest and in Minnesota, weather, and left as soon as I possibly could. Too cold.
Yeah.
But the diet we were that we had normally was typical European: meat, potatoes, vegetable, some salad. Breakfast, bacon, which I couldn't eat. I had some kind of allergy to bacon.
Where's your family from?
Well, my mother's side of the family is Druze. It's more Mideastern, and my father's side of the family is more European, French, German, and so that's what I know so far. So they're Europeans, actually, and Mideastern, but we ate predominantly a European-oriented diet. And but when I was in the latter part of grade school, going into high school, yogurt was starting to get popular. And there was this book called Back to Eden.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I went to private schools, private Catholic schools. And I remember, I think I saw this book was on the shelf in the library, of all things, in a Catholic school, Back to Eden. And I looked at it, and this is really, it was just fascinated me. And I was looking at my diet at home and thinking half the things I can't eat, like beans and pork and stuff like that. But there was a little awareness. I wasn't quite that at that time, but there was, at least that was opening the door to other things. And then this book I picked up called Sugar Blues. Do you ever remember reading that? Have you ever read that book? It's called
Sugar Blues. I've heard of it. I haven't read it.
Boy, that was amazing, how much sugar is and everything, how it affects the brain and the blood, et cetera, et cetera. So that was my introduction. And then I had a teacher who was, and I met my teacher quite young, who was a professor at the university. And he introduced me to vegan cooking.
Teacher of?
Teacher. He was a Hindu. He was a professor at the University of Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
I met him when I was about 12, 13 years old. And that's when I started learning about chant. And that chanting and sound is basically my background in music, etc. But anyway, with him, I started learning Sanskrit chanting and would go visit him, make up an excuse with my family. It was almost like I had a double life, that I'm going to go visit Diane Holscher, but instead I'd head on the bus and head down to see Swamiji and, load up on samosas and dal. It was too good. So even that was an introduction to things. And then I went to another school down south in Atlanta, Georgia. And even there, it was like toward the tail end of the hippie movement, but it was still raw foods and vegan. That was just up my alley. So in a way, there's that. So throughout time, I had fasted. One significant time what was very pivotal in my life is I had an automobile accident and went through the windshield of a car.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had a couple, had a death experience from that, and a death experience a month later during surgery. However, it was amazing. I healed brain damage and seizures using sound. At that time, I was in the music industry, and I immersed myself in my living environment in ashrams and monasteries, and so I could learn the sacred aspects of sound and how that influences one's capacity to immerse with the subtle realms. So chant and mantra and all that, but still in the music industry to pay the rent.
What year was this when you had the accident?
This was in 1980.
Okay, a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. And I used sound to heal the seizures. I was having these seizures where I would, how do you say, collapse? My arms would collapse and my legs would collapse. My motor skills were off. And then so I'd wait until I could feel everything connect again. And then, do things like putting, sink cleaner in the refrigerator and forgetting things and cognitive abilities. But also, there again, I felt like I was in between two worlds. I felt like I was not of this world in the third dimensional sense, but had a very, had quite an experience in the death experience of seeing and experiencing energy like I've never experienced before. All this in saying that throughout the time of healing, there are many things that are affected when you have a brain injury. And so one of the things was depression. I went through a period of depression, hormonal imbalances, thyroid imbalances, all of these things, digestive imbalances as a result of that, just the dominoes effect that I could see happening with my body. And as well as emotionally and energetically. So what happened was I used sound. I didn't use any medicine or medication because I remember reading in Sugar Blues and other things that I read that this was not good to take medication because it affected the liver and the kidneys. And I used sound and had a number of years, and still do actually, the connection between sound, frequency, energy, and vibration in relationship to our bodies, and that we could transform pain through that awareness, understanding what pain was all about. All this in saying that led me to my first fast. The very first time I fasted extensively was initially in a 30-day fast. And I realized too in that time that there was something happening with how my brain was functioning while I was fasting. And that was it. So any opportunity or anything that I saw there and after a fast that made sense to me, I would do it because I liked the way it felt. So I met a teacher who was like what you might say a Shaolin. I can't say he was a priest. He was a chiropractor by trade and acupuncturist by trade. And he was Chinese, and he knew a system of sound, a Taoist system of sound. And every time I'd go visit Master Yang, he'd always tell me, you have this tea and only drink tea in the morning. That's all you have. And he'd give me this tiny pods of what he called monkey tea. And he said it was very good for my nervous system. And he also assisted me in using sound in getting my brain back. That's the only way I can put it.
What kind of sound?
Oh, I would go in a state of semi-meditation and do a sound and visualize the synapses connecting.
Okay.
Visualize certain parts of my brain connecting. Now I do what they call polyphonic sound, which is many different tones in one sound.
So,
And
so
that,
you're creating the sound.
right. I
Okay.
don't, yeah, it's through the voice.
Mhm.
There are instruments and things now. Sound therapy is now really a very happy, wonderful thing, popular now. But back in that time, there were no crystal bowls available. None of that stuff was available. And everything is done with the human voice. And the human instrument is a phenomenal instrument.
Mm-hmm.
It is a universal frequency that just threads all of creation. It's just amazing. So I would visualize through the tones and the sounds, and then he assisted me with certain sounds like wah and ga, things of that sort. And then, of course, immersing in the Hindu system of chakra sounds, etc. Well, did another fast and found that the depression was starting to clear.
What kind of fast? Just
Water.
juice? Water? Okay.
Water. 30 days of water. It was grueling. I found I was weak and tired, and I had someone with me helping me at that time. But there were no enemas, no lymphatic movement at all. It was just pure water, meditation, and sound. That was it. So, long story short, I began to see what the core of depression was all about, where it originates, how the mind, emotions, and very deep conditioned patterns get triggered and create a biochemical wash in the system. And sometimes with these things, there's with head injuries, there is depression that follows because the brain gets jostled, and of course the chemistry that the brain emits will have an effect on temperament, mood, etc. But I realized it was just far more complex than that. So moving into the next series of fasting is when I was on the road and I ended up with mononucleosis, and I had this commitment that I had mononucleosis and what is that other one? Epstein-Barr. And they're all stress related, but then again, how was I going to heal myself with this? And there again, fasting. And this time it was the master fast. And I only did that for like 15 days to get through it. Didn't want to do medication, didn't want to, how do you say, conform to what doctors were telling me. I just did that. I gargled with a little bit of mint and eucalyptus oil of all things to help open my throat because I had to work. I was working. So, and there again was another revelation about fasting and the effect that fasting has on disease, the effect that essential oils has on bacteria.
When was this?
Oh my gosh, this was in 1989.
So you mean the master cleanse with the cayenne and maple syrup?
Well, it was lemon juice and orange juice. It was like the master cleanse and a little bit of jalapeno.
Okay.
Yeah. Then I did my first trip to India. Was in 1989.
Get down. Go. Go. Go.
Oh,
Go.
Go ahead.
Whoever you are.
She had her mic open.
Was my first trip to India, and I got very sick in India. I was there for 6 months studying and, of course, experiencing India. And I came home, and there again, realizing the effect of bacteria, et cetera, went on another fast to clear out my system. They use a lot of oil in the food over there, and that was having an effect on me, etc. Aside from eating some kind of bacteria that wasn't really all that healthy, unbeknownst, could happen just by a spoon that wasn't washed properly or whatever. So the background in fasting, and that's fundamentally the background in my healing process. The other thing was I ended up getting kidney stones, and I'm trying to think, that was after India, not too long after my second trip to India.
That's not fun.
Oh no, it was horrible. It was amazing. It was, the pain was unreal. And what I remember was, I just went to Waikiki. I went to a hospital and they wouldn't accept me because I didn't have insurance for that particular, at that time, I didn't have insurance and I went to an emergency room, said I was in pain. They didn't accept me, and I was, urinating blood and everything. So I called a friend of mine. I told her, I said, I'm going to go to the ocean, Waikiki. And this is like 2:00 in the morning. So I went, and I remember laying on the shore and just letting the water come up to my legs. And I remember just simply doing sound to traverse through the pain, that incredible, interesting pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned into a journey. Not to say it was pleasant, but it was a very, very deep, deep journey. And the dynamic of healing that I experienced from that, I can't even begin to define. But I knew something had to change in my diet, in my lifestyle, in what I was doing. And so there again, did another fast. And this was a juice fast, with just celery, cucumber, parsley. I remember having a lot of parsley at that time, juicing a lot of parsley. Mm-hmm. And did that for about 30 days. Just those basic vegetable juices, which healed, but not being educated enough to understand the dynamic of acidity. And I did like my coffee. So, and then eventually letting go of coffee and, highly caffeinated black tea and chai and things of that sort. So basically that's it, the fasting background. Now, and then some. How I came across Master Fast, what I was explaining to you was that, again, not too long after I came back on the road, not too long after I came back from India, just very recently, I walked into the health food store, and they had their fine array, their buffet of this wonderful vegan food, and something just told me I was full of it. I was so stuffed up that.
So what's your diet been like prior to Master Fast for the last few years?
Oh, vegan, predominantly vegan. About, I think it was like in 2009, I was in, I remember I was in Czech Republic, and I don't know, I have to travel for work, but somehow or another, it just isn't my best friend all the time. It's so difficult. But I was in the Czech Republic. I was doing some stuff in the Czech Republic. And I remember thinking I needed to eat meat or something because I was weakening. I was getting really, really weak and tired. So I had salmon. And I remember upchucking it that night after the concert. I remember getting really sick and throwing up. My body just couldn't tolerate it. So that was about, there are a couple of things, maybe an egg here and there. But for the most part, it's been pretty vegan. Some cheese occasionally. No milk. I used to make nut milks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, up until the master fast, I was making nut milks. Couldn't understand why I felt inflammation, I should say. Couldn't get it why I was so bloated and
Mm-hmm.
why my lymphatic system felt like there were harbors accumulating stuff in certain parts of my body.
Mm-hmm.
And, so, boy, I'm telling you, this master fast, just
the fats sure too taste good.
I don't even know what to say. Since the master fast, I made some almond milk, thinking, oh, I can do that. No, I felt this aggravation in my stomach. I felt nauseous. I felt like this just is not compatible with the natural harmony of my body. You know, I've, what was it? I had a couple of cashews and it felt like I had an oil mine in my mouth. You know, you could feel the grease and the oil. There's just so much to say. I don't even, but going back to the master fast, I just went within and asked, and going on to YouTube, like a couple days later, I saw this fellow who was talking about the master fast, and he was radiant. He was just radiant, just a lovely, lovely person. A lot of enthusiasm, but his energy was just really clean and beautiful. And I thought, I'm going to look into this master fast stuff. And that's when I started traversing your website and found out.
When was this approximately?
Oh gosh, March?
Of this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was right around February, March. Yeah, right around there. I was looking, and then I saw that you were on Facebook. And so I think I joined in April or May, right around there. I'm not good with dates, Gino.
Yeah, roughly. It doesn't have to be exact. Just have an idea.
Yeah.
How long you've been, looking around before you jumped in?
Oh yeah, I definitely, because of fasts that I've done in the past, like I mentioned that there's like a ricochet effect. You know, it's where you fast and you deprive, and it was more or less a process of deprivation, but in my mind I knew I had to do it because I am, or was, or still am, subtly aware of the somatic intelligence, that our body has its own universal intelligence and so connected to everything. And it's almost like this incredible dimensional holographic interplay of spirit and emotions and mind, psychology, soul, expression, all interplay with each other. It's all connected. And during the master fast, this came more and more to light and extremely palpable, where I could actually feel it in my nervous system. I could feel it in my meditations. I could feel it in my, with healing brain damage. It was like I could feel it in my hypothalamus and my pituitary. I could actually feel that there was stuff shedding. Stuff was going.
You're talking about being in the fast.
Yes, during the master fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm hyper vigilant about what's going on with my mind and the connection to the nervous system. Very insensitive, and not sensitive to the point where I'm touchy, but just aware of the subtle. Just really, really aware that our physical bodies are one thing, but then we've got, you know, the etheric body, the electrical body, the, you know, causal body, all that stuff. And then we've got an auric field above and beyond that interplays with a lot of stuff. And finding as I was fasting, that was clearing. Not only was my body clearing, but I could sense and feel things in an expansive way above and beyond what I can even explain. The nervous system, and this may sound silly, but I really, what is it, that vagus nerve? I could feel something going on with the vagus nerve. And prior to all of that, I was aware, like the last couple times I went to India. And when I go to India, I spend a lot of time there, 6 months. The last trip I was there for a year.
Wow.
Yeah. Interesting place, to say the least. But I realized even more so the gut, heart, and brain relationship. And that everything is a life form, everything is a life force, even parasites, even the gases that the parasites emit, everything, and I could see as I was clearing the effect that this clearing had on the emotional climate of my heart, and also how my mind and my emotions were interacting. I wish I could just, someday I'll just organize the thoughts in to where it can make greater sense in a way. But I could also see how when the gut is clear, the mind is clear. Oh, amazing. Especially little critters that, you know, kind of latch onto you from India. It's just like there's definitely a different energetic component to parasites from different countries. There really is. It's just amazing. But see, this is why I feel that even though I did 108 days, that I just scratched the surface. Even though I've done things in the past, I've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, well, we've opened the doors.
Yeah. Well, that's why I feel another 108 days would be great. You know, working toward that second round and working toward the third round. And the whole approach to the fast was that there was something far more intelligent than my mind that was telling me it's time to make some changes. It's time to not only evolve, but to clear the body, clear the vessel, clear the vehicle. Thus, everything else will clear. And I went into it more from an intuitive approach than from a plan approach. I just said, there was Nirmal Ekadasi, which is a Hindu holiday, and they do dry fasting on that day, 24 hours dry fasting. And I thought, what a perfect time. That was June 4th to really start this master fast. And so that's what I did. That's when I started. There were ups and downs and ins and outs, you know, just the temptations. But to really get into what is the core of this temptation. And again, being around people who want to feed you and watching you, it's like, well,
yeah, everybody wants to feed us.
Everybody wants to feed us. and that's part of what their concept of nurturing is.
Mm-hmm.
Cooking that food and putting all the love in the food and all of this, it's just wonderful. Hot. I needed to feed my soul with emptiness. I needed to feed my body with how do you say, prana medicine. I think Master Fast gave me an opportunity to see the prana medicine that takes place within the body. That's the best way I can describe it. It takes place within the body as you're fasting. That the body's own intelligence creates its own medicine. It still is an amazing journey. I love the science you have put out there in terms of how the grape juice works. Because at first the grape juice was a lot of sugar. At least I thought it, and it was sweet. And then I remember reading a post saying that it has something to do with gallbladder or something, that there's just indicative of being stuffed up, so to speak, and that eventually it'll go away. Now I have to have my grape juice. Now it's just like, oh, it's so good. And the herbs, I haven't tried your herbs. Next round, I'm going to try. I have a friend who's a naturopath that I've had. She's given me herbs, and I just felt I had to use those up, but they were very congruent with what you recommend and what you create. Although I do feel that the energy was a little different. I'm not sure exactly how to explain that, but they were really helpful in assisting some of the cleansing process. But also made me aware that you could actually live on herbs. You could actually live on the beautiful essence of herbs. It was almost like perfume in my blood. It was so incredible. So incredible. And that was a good feeling, really. And throughout, ever since I was a child, I always, well, a young person, not necessarily a child, but when I first read the book Back to Eden, and I started looking at, all of the stuff, I was always inspired about breatharian.
Mm-hmm.
What if we could live without food? What if we could live through sunshine, like I do sun gazing and things of that sort? What if that possibility could be there? And way back at that time, that there was nothing around. But that curiosity has always been there, and over the years, I found that, it's possible. Now I have actually, doing this process has actually given me a pathway by which it is a reality.
What, you do sun gazing every day, or you have a kind of schedule? How long you've been practicing?
I've been practicing sun gazing for about 10 years.
Oh,
wow. And I do it every 3 days here, because sometimes I like to get up and write, and I get up early in the morning and do sadhana, and I like to write. I write. And if I'm on the road, it's kind of hard. Except if I'm in India at the ashram or something, I was able to go out and do that. But yeah, on the average, about 3 times a week. And it's an amazing meditation. But I'll tell you something, with the Master Fast and sun gazing, because there is a point where I just have the sun focusing right here, on the third eye. But I broke out in great big huge welts. And I still have Little skin left. There was some discoloration for a while, but huge welts right in through here, right in my third eye. And I thought, oh, well, it's cleansing. It's
Mm-hmm.
And another thing about the Master Fast was always dealing, especially since the accident, always dealing with keeping my hormones in balance. And also, you know, being a mature woman, we're confronted with hormonal changes and things of that sort. But I realized this is not necessarily the truth. It's not the truth. This is not so. That a lot of this stuff is created.
Mm-hmm.
And the belief systems around it is created. And the most perfect barometer was how I felt, and not to judge it, but as an observer to see how everything was flowing and moving.
Yeah, our belief systems are created through our education system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's hard to break those for some people.
I would say, you know, I've said this, and I've done a couple interviews on this kind of stuff in relationship to beliefs and identity, our concept of identity. And the thing I found really fascinating is when we get into the core of our primordial conditioning is when we are challenged, and a lot of people call it going into the shadow, or but you actually see how deeply and deep and silent this conditioning is that governs our lives, as opposed to our full embodiment experience of our spirit and our soul of love. It's like just a bunch of crazy obstructions.
In every which way.
And it's like a bombardment of ideas. And again, this is another thing about the Master Fast, even though, you know, there's like a bombardment of stuff. I was looking at a social media site, and I was like, politics. Such, oh my goodness, what a creation! What a creation! What we're going to do about it, how we have to stand up, and it's so awesome to voice. But where is that voice coming from, other than resistance and another paradigm of belief systems? You know, it's like, okay, what circus do we want to join?
Her belief systems are obstructions.
Oh my gosh!
You need to wash them out.
It's just amazing. It's
Yeah.
just so. The benefit of this is I can't even begin. I mean, I'm saying so much now. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but it's. Huh.
What challenges did you have before you started?
Oh, inflammation.
Everywhere? Yeah.
You know, I could feel it in my legs and my hips and my stomach. Inflammation in my attitude. I couldn't. I have deadlines for a couple things. I canceled out on a couple of tours because I just lost interest in certain in things. All because I knew I had to go in, and it wasn't a matter of going in for meditation or doing yoga or any of that. It was going in on a much more deeper level. So it was a soul challenge, a spiritual challenge, physical challenges. My digestion was off the rails. Didn't know what to eat or how to eat. Sometimes when I come back from India, or after, well, basically India, I would hit the health food store, get that liquid probiotic stuff that you get. Chug down a whole bottle of it when you're supposed to take 2 tablespoons a day, because everything was just so
out of whack.
So out of whack. Then I would do probiotics, and I would make what was I making? The probiotic cabbage and all that. And when I would drink the juice, there would pain and inflammation again. I think, I'm not doing this. I'm just putting Band-Aid on garbage. How can I get balanced when something's really not right here? So I stripped everything away, everything.
You mentioned touring. What do you do touring? That's.
I was in the music business, and since the accident, I transitioned into I do sound concerts.
Oh, okay.
It's predicated on music. I create choirs and mix indigenous instruments and drums with classical instruments and drums, and create performances and concerts. And it has all evolved into now creating an orchestra of instruments, very unusual instruments that are just incredible.
What are they tuned to?
Oh, 432. All my CDs, 432. All the music, 432. Everything's 432. I did a concert at the Ted Mann Concert Hall. It's one of the residencies I did. There was a beautiful professional choir, great musicians. I had a 73-piece choir. And the room, I think we had about, not to say that all the concerts are this large. When I've got wonderful support, it happens. But there were about 1,700 people in the audience.
Wow.
But that was the first indication for me to start introducing, because I've been doing sound work since I was 12 years old. But for me to introduce something of that very subtle, beautiful musical nature in a musical performance. And the audience was predominantly a classical audience. And the beautiful thing was, when the concert was over, they sat in meditation. And that was it for me. And I knew there's something.
So when did you learn about 432 frequency, the tuning?
Oh, a long time ago. I actually learned it from a fellow from Russia.
Oh, really?
Yes. I work with this, my producers, I have CDs, and so the producers of the CDs are very, very conscious people called wing makers. And so someone approached me. He was from Russia, because I do that polyphonic sound and pretty big range in my singing voice. And so he approached me, and he was interested in sampling my voice because he wanted a sample of the various tones and things. So we got to talking, and that's how I learned about 432.
What year was that?
1999.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, way back in at that time I was just starting my work with Wingmakers, 1999, 2000. So it was Soul Food at that time when I put out that CD. And I've got a lot of CDs. I forget the title of it, but there's one I did toning on that. That's what intrigued this Russian fellow to contact me. So I do that, and then I do what they call songs and talk about consciousness, or bring people through experiences, consciousness, and meditation.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good. And as I said, I'm no spring chicken. I've done this a long time. Ivana, you were probably a little zygote at the time. but all this in saying that, it's beautiful to see this work now coming to the surface. And it's amazing how sound, the effect sound has in the biosphere, sound has in the atmosphere, in the auric fields. And I feel too, that's another thing about the Master Fast that has helped me. That being, clear the instrument and the message gets clear. Clear the mind, clear the emotions, because when you've got, we call them samskaras and vasanas, when you've got these vibrational imprints in the body, in the emotional body, in the auric fields, so to speak, you're constantly at the mercy of them. You're constantly at the unconsciously responding to that and deepening that, as opposed to transforming or transmuting it into more expansive vibration. And so the Master Fast has really helped me, how do you say, clear more. My voice changed. My intent got deeper, to the point where I'm not doing anything right now, but just focusing on this inner and being very particular about the compositions, particular about how I'm thinking and feeling, very, very, I don't know how to describe it other than astute about what vibrational imprints are left, so that the whole, I can emerge into that full being of love, the truth of who we all are. And the more I do it, the more positive effect it has on others without me having to say a word. This is why I haven't said much about Master Fast to the people. It's just been personal friends, because then sometimes you open yourself up to all this criticism and stuff that I just don't want the backlash of that. And I feel that what is important, the proof is in the pudding, and I'm determined to be the bowl pudding. That's pretty much. What else is there, really, when you think about it? What else is there? And the journey is how to do it, how to get there. And the Master Fast system has really been a tremendous guide in this process for me at this time. Just really perfect timing, perfect work. Just awesome.
So maybe you want to explain your journey through it, your dry fasting schedule and stuff. Did you release anything?
Oh, did I? I'd call my friends, you wouldn't believe what came out of me today. Now, this is going to sound really gross, but wow. I mean, they were fascinated and still somewhat put off by it. You know, I figure if we're not willing to look at our crap, then literally and figuratively, then, you know, what's the sense of it all? So I had, ropes and ropes of black stuff. I didn't take pictures or document that. Perhaps on the second round I'm going to do that, just to see the progression. But I knew this time was just the initial dump. And what had happened, ropes and ropes of this black stuff, sometimes almost 2 feet long. A couple of times there were little tiny white wormy things. White wormy things with a little black dot on them. And I thought maybe those are parasites left over from when I accidentally drank Ganga water or something. It's like a bunch of them came out in like 3 days, 3 successions of enema sessions.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just amazing. These little white wormy things, and then there were long fleshy tone worm things that were kind of mixed in with the black stuff, from the pudding. There was just a lot of that. The kidney part and the dry fasting. My dry fasting schedule, I dry fasted 24 hours on Sundays. I'm still doing that. And I want to get more into the study of how that works with the kidneys. I've got it to some degree, but really getting it, I feel when I'm working with the second series, I'm going to see the filtration and stuff. As it was, I would stop drinking. Commonly, I usually stop eating between 4 and 6 in the evening anyway.
Mm.
But during the Master Fast, I stopped drinking. I have my pudding at night, at the last meal, like 4 o'clock, and then nothing, and then wake up in the morning and, resume the liquids. So that's how I did it. I'm very, very challenged with the dry fasting. That the dry fasting is something that really gets me. That's the one where I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like it's the end for me. And so I move through that. I do what is that the compacts, the things that what is that, castor oil, that and heating pads I did on my
On your where you cut out?
I put it on my liver.
On your liver, okay.
Yeah. And sometimes, even though it's really warm here, I would find that my kidneys needed something warm. So I would put warm cloth on my kidneys during the fast. That was really important.
Yeah, kidneys love heat.
Oh my gosh, incredible. Incredible. There is the lymph system. Wow. There's a practice called Ishnan. It's a yogic practice, and Ishnan is where you do skin brushing and then you do cold showers, and then you rub your body with black sesame oil or some kind of oil, which I didn't do during the fast, but I did the lymph skin brushing regularly, sometimes 2-3 times a day, because I became acutely aware of how clogged up my lymphatic system was. I became aware of how the lymph fluids really needed to move and get I was aware of the stagnation and did everything I could to get things moving. And that was really beneficial. And the cold showers, except I didn't do cold on my kidneys for some reason. I didn't feel that that just wasn't right for me, but I did. There's a technique where you let the cold water run and on the armpits and the chest and everything else. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then alternated hot and cold, which was really wonderful. But now, yoga has always been for me kind of like the body experiencing something beyond its own capacity. Whether it's stretching or pranayama or breathing or whatever. But as I mentioned, everything was coming dead. I just wasn't enthused about doing my sadhana or anything. And I decided that I looked into aerial yoga. And I thought this would be great for my lymphatic system.
Oh, and, like the yoga swings and stuff?
Yes, upside down.
I have one of those.
Oh my gosh, isn't it fun? Oh, I swear that was new life. So getting up and doing the skin brushing, cold shower, get my yoga stuff on, head over to the studio, go upside down and stretch out. Oh, that was it. You know, grape juice. That was like heaven on earth every day. Challenges, yes, but it was so good. It still is. I'm still on that. But I got to see where even upside down, there were a couple of postures, asanas, whatever, where I was upside down and you have your body completely perpendicular to the floor. The head is facing the floor, the feet are straight up. And I couldn't breathe. The first few times I did that, I couldn't hardly breathe. Now, mind you, I was like, I'd been doing this, but I was almost like 60 days in the master fast. And I realized I was still stuffed up. Everything was compressing down on my lungs. And I started to cry. The breathing got to be very taxed. It was just, oh, my word. And then now, gradually over time, even when the master fast was over, I could still feel it. Now I'm feeling that there's release. I can definitely do that and sustain that for a couple of minutes without feeling everything.
How much juice were you drinking a day?
Oh, I wish I had it. Well, anywhere from one. I started out not drinking enough. And I got these 1.5 big 64-ounce thermoses. I drank 2 of those a day. So that's 1.5 liters, I think, is each of them. And at least 2 of those a day. But I didn't.
A liter's only 2 ounces more than a quart.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Big 64, 2 of them. And sometimes a little bit more. Like after the pudding, I'd feel like I'd need more. Mm-hmm. The tea and tincture in the morning was amazing. Absolutely so good. I did put tinctures in my kidney tea. I have a kidney tea blend. And I mixed that with grape juice because it would taste really much better than the bitterness. And I like the heat too because there's, in the tinctures there's alcohol. So, I never drank. So there's a wee bit of a buzz with that. So I would just kind of let that process through. But that would be my first thing in the morning is that tea. It is so good. So good. And, the dry fasting on Sundays, Monday morning, I would do the bubbly. Oh my gosh, that is so good. That's like grape pop on a stick. It was like the best thing. And I'd look forward to doing the bubbly every Monday morning. But I could actually feel the difference. Throughout the process, sometimes I would use litmus paper to look at my pH and saw that there were definite changes in that as well. But inflammation has gone down. My state of mind, my mood has changed. I've got a little bit more enthusiasm and really looking into some much deeper life changes and changes in my work. And I feel too that there is an element of courage, of being a little bit more soulfully naked in the work that I do. And I don't want to speak too prematurely by saying it's fearlessness, but a certain freedom has come about and a strength has come about. Because in the process of the master fast, it does take some determination to really move through the patterns, the conditioning, the vasanas, the deeply seated in the DNA information. You're just riding a wave that's so much against that it takes a certain degree of fortitude and determination, to tell you. In this time, I had to cook for someone else in most of it. And sometimes I just unconsciously realize, oh my gosh, I just put that in my mouth. How, just to nothing from the inside, craving anything, just a whack in the mouth. It's like, oh, it was just that awareness. It was there. All the awarenesses that came about were huge. Emotional eating, like if there was an upset or something just wasn't going my way, or something that may have been hurtful or pain that would come up, the impulse to want to eat a dozen oranges or do something was also something to really observe, to the point where I would just go, I've got a little place where I sit and meditate, where I just sit there and just let that spin out. It was like a spinning out of energy that was so amazing. So, and that, every time I did that, there was just a little piece more liberated, bit by bit.
Yeah, as we unlock those stuck obstructions, things start changing.
Wow, I just have to say with so much gratitude that this program is such a phenomenal foundation, and it's well-founded. Just follow it to the letter. Why fix something that works? That's kind of like my philosophy. Even yoga practices and meditation, they've been doing this for whatever millenniums or years, and I do my own thing, and it's like, why fix something that has worked for so many for so long? Why make it so complicated? Why get your own ego involved? Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. It's almost have to be let your mind go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No brainer, but boy, it's a challenge.
Well, even for me myself, there's always the mind playing games, and you just got to go to the basics.
Yeah. There's that whole aspect of. I was just thinking today. I'm in the post process, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I was just thinking about DNA.
The hardware.
And that's like, it's physical. Sometimes people treat it as though it's this esoteric thing, but it's very, very, very physical. And this may sound a little crazy, but I could almost feel like how my ancestors ate.
Doesn't sound crazy.
Yeah.
How can't you? You're part of them.
Yeah.
Every aspect.
It's this physical. Yeah, exactly. It was how they ate, what their thinking was. Thinking about my grandmother's Sunday dinners, these feasts on Sundays. Yeah, and everybody would just eat, and if you don't eat your food, eat everything on your plate. And you're like,
yeah.
But it's so much deeper than that. so much deeper than that. And we are not our DNA. We're not our DNA. We're not that. No. The little pieces of seeing that was just amazing, that we are definitely physical embodiments, physical expressions, but boy, just peeling back the layers, so to speak, or just running to the light and facing everything that obstructs it rather than running away from the obstruction. And to me, that's another thing that the Master Fast has provided.
Mm-hmm.
This is a premise by which these things can happen. Yeah. So the the post Master Fast process is equally as vital as the 108 days, is what I'm finding out for myself. It's amazing. I'm approaching it again from making a plan, yet intuitively in tune to how it works. Like these days, I'm not wanting to eat. I'm taking celery and carrot juice, minimal carrot juice and celery juice, juicing it, and then blending vegetables. Like I love cilantro and cucumber and stuff, tomato, and making my own version of V8 juice. And just finding a cup or two of that a day right now is fine. Pineapple, that's one of my favorites, is pineapple with cilantro and celery juice. So throw the pineapple and cilantro in the blender with a little celery juice, and oh my gosh, heaven lives. You know, it's just wonderful. Not really. I thought at one point, I had a friend of mine made a vegan meal, and there was rice, but I couldn't even eat 2 spoons of it. It was just like my system just rejected it. And I feel that this post Master Fast, it's really being in tune to what the body is really saying. Before I mentioned the ricochet effect, when you pull back and resist so long, eventually when you're let go and when you're finished, you want to go back. And this time, it seems like the clock is set. I tried almond milk. Can't do it. Making the nut milk. Can't do that. Interesting thing, these are organic almonds. But I started wheezing. I could feel feel the wheezing.
The fats and the proteins are very heavy.
Very heavy.
The nuts have both.
That's where I'm at now. I was on the road, and I was on the road, and people were making, there was food, but eventually the whole process of saying I'm not that hungry right now. My system is saying, just being honest, because there were times it'd be so challenging, like, because I don't want to tell people outright, oh, I'm on a fast right now.
Right.
Blah, 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 because you get, oh, what? Oh, no, what are you doing that now? Been there, done that, you know. My biggest anti-supporters family, vegetarian alone. It's like, oh, we learn at a very young age that you don't talk much. You just kind of get on with what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that just being really honest and feeling totally authentic and just saying, hey, I am not hungry right now. And finding that less and less people are offended. Isn't it interesting? They make food, and if you're not hungry, they get offended if you don't eat. And so there's that social, emotional mix that's really messy. But it's turning out to be really good and graceful. Um, like I said, went back on a couple of things, but it just doesn't work anymore. So now I'm traversing into a whole different way of eating. I was thinking of fasting every other day and doing a dry fast on Sundays. And that's the direction I feel I'm going. I'm still not eating any full meals or anything like that right now. And it's been September or something, third week in September.
So you're maintaining a 24-hour dry fast. You're maintaining a daily dry.
The daily dry, definitely. But it's my sleeping hours, anywhere between, the windows between 4 and 6, no foods or liquids, and then wake up. And that's a normal for me. That's a normal. The Sunday dry fast, 24 hours, I'm going to challenge myself with that for a while. I'm going to do that. And Monday, Wednesday, Friday, fasting. You know, I'm doing grape juice Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Oh, okay.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, food thing, but not much food thing. Food things have been coming up. Not at all wanting anything that's cooked. However, they're making salads. You know, I made a salad, but had this inspiration to do papaya seeds. Evidently, they're good for parasites and stuff. And so I did a couple tablespoons of that, and that's about it. Created a papaya seed salad dressing, which is wonderful. Yeah, it's really good, actually, really, really good with lime and of course cilantro, and it's just really good. And the basic, you know, salad ingredients. But it took a while to eat a salad. It took a while. It took a few weeks before I could actually eat a salad. And the avocados made it tolerable. Yeah, they were good. But
you broke the fast with fruit.
Oh yeah, but it was like watermelon juice in the blender. You know, I haven't had. The only thing that would be considered a vegetable, but it's actually a fruit, is cucumber.
Mm-hmm.
It tones down the intensity of the fruit, and I love the way it felt in my body.
Yeah, they're botanical fruits.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Yeah, and coconut water. I've done some coconut water, but the nadir, the coconut meat, that I found a little tough to digest. Even in a baby coconut, it was a little difficult. So I'm avoiding that. You know, Gino, the thing is, the bacteria, the gut bacteria, every time I tune in, there's a lot of controversy out there. Oh, get your gut bacteria. You have to take probiotics. You have to do this. You have to do that. There's so many things that are good for gut bacteria. And I'm not doing anything and my gut feels better.
The body creates whatever you need when you clean the environment. You don't need anything external. The body creates everything. It creates all the minerals, vitamins, et cetera, et cetera. We don't need everything. When we introduce foods, whatever it is, I don't care what it is, we're introducing obstructions, and this is where the problems start happening. Everybody's looking at the other way around, that we need external things instead of we need to remove everything that we've put in external.
How is it that we got there in the first place? So much emphasis on food that way.
I don't think it's been like that until modern civilization started happening. My parents growing up, they would discuss, they didn't have much for food, and times were tough or whatever, et cetera, money, but they weren't huge eaters, right? And I'm sure when, before those times, people were not worried about food left, right, and center. They were busy working their fields, this, that, and the other thing. So how it came to be, corporations, marketing, blah, 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 education, and little by little, everybody's addicted to food. It's not something that you'll see animals in the wild overeating food. They don't overeat. Only humans and civilizations do this. And the foods that we have today, most of it's not even considered food. It's monocrops, hybrid, genetically modified, prepared by corporations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is where, the lifestyle, less is more. It'll open you right up to what is real, or what is, what are we really supposed to do here? Do we really need any of this stuff? And little by little, as you clean yourself up, it all opens up to you. The answers start coming more and more clear. I go to grocery stores, and I'm walking around, and honestly, there's hardly anything I'm attracted to anymore. Organic, schmanic, whatever. It's just, what do I want to eat? I'm coming to that point now in my life. It's, why even put anything in the body? So minimize it, absolute minimize it. And when you're doing it, when we're eating, enjoy it fully, whatever you're doing. Try and keep it to the least obstruction, least mucusless foods as possible. The more we stay with fruits, the better we're going to feel. And as we move away from that, we get into the heavier and denser foods, and we get more and more problems. But once you've cleaned out with 108 days, that's a lot of physical crap that we've got rid of. And with all the physical crap, we have emotions attached to every single bite. They go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So as they start coming out, and then we flush it all out, 108 days. That's why I wish everybody would do 108 days or somewhere close to that. You get a good flushing, because you're not going to be the same as you were before the fast. It's impossibility. Impossibility. You're completely changed. It's your choice where you want to go from that point, but you're a completely different person. The old person is in the distant past. So, all this gut bacteria and everything, people talking about. Yeah, there's going to be bacteria in there because the environment is conducive for them to be there. Your body will create parasites, bacteria, whatever. It doesn't need to take them from anywhere. We could pick them up. That's another way. But your body will create them. Your body will create parasites. If it's in a state where, the creation thinks it's in a corpse state, there's going to be things being growing in you to take care of that state. And that's what happens. They're there because they think you're a corpse in most cases. So that's what's going to happen. And when you clean it out, they get flushed out. There's no purpose for them, and things will start growing that's needed to support that state then. And if you introduce all the other foods or whatever again, then things will change. If you keep it clean, it keeps changing that environment to a cleaner and cleaner state. This is where I think that people that live like a breatharian lifestyle with no eating and no taking in any liquids, eventually, I don't feel there's purpose for any of that bacteria in there at all, because it's all going to come out. You're living on a different form of field and energy than you are through physical foods. We're living on all these other fields anyway all the time. People think we need food for energy, and I keep asking, where does the energy your body use to digest food come from? And nobody can answer that. Where does it come from? You know how much energy it takes to digest one meal? You could probably power a house for a week.
Mm.
It's a lot of energy. Where does it come from? And you have to look somewhere else, because atoms continuously have the nucleus and the turning inside. Planets are continuously moving, circulating in their orbit. They don't eat and they don't produce waste. They're producing matter, not waste. And that's how the body works. It's the same principles as how the universe works. Through field interactions, matter's created. That's how our body's created. It's through field interactions. We interfere with it when we're taking in foods. So let's minimize it so it'll be more efficient. And for some of us, we may go completely off of physical foods, and some of us won't, and that's okay. We're here for all different experiences, but humanity's moving more into that realm of peace, balance, and correct conduct. And once we wake up to that state, we're going to go, what are we doing eating plants? Never mind the animals. What are we doing eating anything? We don't need it. Because they're all living entities and beings, and they all have souls just like us, and they're all, at the same level, the soul level. But actually, plants are more elevated than we are. They're actually showing us how to live on energy right in front of our eyes. We're just not paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what I feel the value of the sun gazing is.
Mm-hmm.
Is that prana, and
there's no obstruction from sun gazing. You're getting pure field, even air. We're in our Earth state right now. We're taking in obstructions breathing. So even we're sharing about Butenko, breathe less is more. Even the breath, we don't need to be breathing more. We need to be breathing less to build up the CO2. Because why does the body make CO2? Let's look at that aspect. Well, the body doesn't create anything it doesn't need. So we need CO2 because CO2 is vital for energy transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Can't have any energy transfer without CO2. So, if we don't have enough CO2, we can't get oxygen utilization and utilization of anything else. We need CO2. Everybody's talking about oxygen. No, we need the CO2, and your body will create anything it needs through energy transfer, including the little oxygen we need and everything else. It's amazing when you realize how everything is so backwards. We've been taught how vital CO2 is. We're eating foods, we're drinking or whatever, and we're creating waste, urine and fecal matter. And those are not even waste. Those are just excess energy packets that the body cannot use. It's just way too much. So we get rid of them. You're not going to be producing those anymore once you get off of food and liquids. There's few people living on that. There's much more living on just liquids. We're just showing the way through less is more, and start cutting down our food consumption. Get rid of water. We don't need that. Taking in some juices and stuff, and moving in that direction. And your body's going to tell you and speak to you very clearly and loudly the next morning of what you've done the day before, meaning what you've taken in. And if you start paying attention, you'll go the route of being, cleaner and less because you're going to feel better. It takes time. It takes several years for some of us, but it's fine. But this is the simplicity, We have all the subtle energies from the cosmos, the sun, the moon, the earth, the air, the atmosphere itself, it's all around us. We can't escape these energies. They're everywhere, and they're infinitely abundant. So we just need to be aware of, this simplicity of how the body actually functions. We're not eating all the time. So where's all this energy coming from? Where's it coming from? We're so conditioned that we need to take in and burn fuels. That's a Neanderthal type of thinking, and maybe they were much more advanced than we were. I don't know. I wasn't there. Maybe I was. But we were just adding to the knowledge little by little, and things open up, and the information starts coming. Especially when you fast, I'm sure you understand. The information just starts pouring in when you're on these fasts, especially the long dry fast. You know, what do we? I think we have a full moon today on a dry fast, and I have a very, very, very mild headache, and I don't get headaches. It's because, especially when you're using the other energies, things are changing and happening when you're doing these fasts. And this is why I highly advocate that people do long dry fasts, not on master fast, never on master fast, especially you. But once you come out of a long cleanse and you start eating, then we try and focus on these long dries, because you're going to start opening up to new revelations. Maybe that's the word. When you start going on these long dries. The biggest one for me that really shifted me was my first 12-day dry in Italy. When I hit 7, 8, 9 days, it just bang. Wow. I don't desire anything anymore. I reached that state of, is this how good it's supposed to feel? It's like being in bliss. It's just amazing, amazing, amazing. And putting anything in the body, I haven't been able to reach that state in all these years, no matter how clean I ate. Raw foods for all these years. I only hit that state by not consuming anything myself. There's other people who can do it with foods, and I wasn't one of them. And I found that in this day and age, it's much easier for the general population, most people, to do it through cleansing, fasting. And living this life, I don't even want to call it fasting anymore. It's just living on plasma, living on prana, living on light, whatever terminology you want to use. They're one of the same. They all come from creation. And we all look at it a little bit different, but it's awesome when you can go for, days without even thinking about any food, just be and enjoy.
That's amazing.
What was your longest dry fast, Vima?
I could only do 24 hours. Well,
okay.
Actually, 36 hours.
Yeah. Have you tried extending through the little techniques that we've suggested? Taking the herbal tinctures, then doing small amounts in a semi-dry. Have you tried any of that?
No, but I'm going to look into that. That's my next phase, because I feel I'm ready for extensive dry fasting now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now's the time when you're consuming foods. It's very, very, very tough on a master fast. Even for somebody who came from fruit eating, they're still plugged up for years. We've seen that. It's very, very aggressive until the body. Because it's aggressive, because most people are in a state of dehydration. The average is from 20 to 30%. It's hard to believe at the cellular level, but it comes very quickly into to the surface when you're on a master fast, and people overdoing and not drinking enough and doing too much dry fasting, because they think it's going to be. They just get into this dehydrated state. And I've explained, people getting themselves in trouble very, very quickly. Their body's not ready for it. Their body's not able to create its hydration, because it's only the body that creates hydration. Only the body creates minerals. Only the body creates fats. Only the body creates proteins, blah, 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 blah. It's the body that's doing it. It's not what we're taking in. This is very challenging for people to comprehend, because everybody else is teaching the opposite of what we're bringing up, this new knowledge.
They are.
Everybody's teaching the opposite, and we're saying no. You have to just open your mind up a little and let's look at things differently, because it's the other way around. We've been duped, and it's all coming to the surface now of how much we've been duped. Even the drinking the water and blah, blah, blah. You can't live without water for 3 days. I'd be dead many times over. So the beauty of this new understanding is, wow, okay. Even though the subconscious has still that old programming, it's not, we're not able to completely let it go. Maybe that's the word, for all of us at this time. we're able to expand it slowly and slowly and slowly, and consuming less and less and less. Like myself, 3 days a week at least, I'm not eating or drinking anything. At least, and when I go, my season changes, I go much longer, and I'm always continuously focusing on, am I ready to reduce that even further and further and further? And, that's the way I for myself, everybody has a different goal or whatever. But this is the beauty of Master Fast. There's so many avenues of how much you want to, how aggressive you want to go, and whatever, We have the hybrid for people who just can't comprehend fasting. So we have mini fast each day with the hybrid. And then the dry schedule. We have the dry window, the wet window, and then one meal on the hybrid. So most people could handle that. But the Master Fast, now that you've got one under your belt, whenever you plan your next one, you can push a little more on the dries in the Master Fast, but still, don't go too crazy on it. 3 days, most people could handle up to 3 days, dry. Some of us take a little longer to get to that. That's okay. But, that's why we put the different options to be able to work our way and practice pushing the dries more and more and more. That's really where a lot of the magic happens. Because as I said earlier, it's nothing we take in. It's everything that happens within here. And how do we access it? By removing the obstructions, and then, wow, the body can do its magic. That's how simple it is. We don't need to know the kidneys are down, the lymphatics down. We don't need to know any of that stuff. We just need to know that, okay, let's cleanse it and let the body take over. That's all we really need to know. It doesn't matter what challenge somebody has, whatever they want to call it, cancer, diabetes, blah, 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 heart. We're still going to have to do the same thing and focus on the same thing. So let's focus on our goals and let's drive to them, because at the end of the day, we're going to be doing the same thing to get to that. All of us. A little tweaks different. We're going to use different, more of this tool versus that tool, but at the end of the day, we need to wash out the obstructions. And how do we wash them out? We're using the juice to wash. We're not using it for nutrition like people think, and calories and all. We're using it to wash. And yes, we're getting plasmatic fields from it as well, because it's going through our system. But with the main issue for the juice and the tinctures, the herbs, what do? They are there to pull out obstructions from our body. That's what they're helping us do. They're not giving us anything. Organs and glands are all gunked up and plugged up as well, and the herbs go into those areas and help open them up and remove things that are not belonging to us, that are not needed. And then the pudding, what does that do? Well, it's help pulling and sucking and, taking in things that we don't need as well. And at the same time, we're getting fields through the charcoal, which is carbon, another form of carbon. Energy transfer. Hello. It's so simple. We have so much CO2 in the air. We got to reduce CO2. We got to tax every CO2. Ridiculous. Plants can't live without CO2. Energy transfer. It's not only for plants, but for us. Energy transfer, CO2. And they're telling us it's bad. In greenhouses, they pump CO2. Plants grow better. We create our own CO2. We create it. Why? Why do we create CO2? It's a waste product. Body doesn't create waste. It doesn't create any waste. We need it. Body creates only what we need. It ain't dumb. The people's opinions and theories are dumb. We have to look at things differently and add to the knowledge. Everything we've learned up to this point, okay, we did what we did with it, but now we need to look at a new understanding of things so we can expand further our awarenesses and we're going to go to the stars because we are made of them. We're part of that system. We can't be separate. But it's beautiful when we open up to new understandings, and you get beaten up a lot when you bring these new ideas up, boy. You know, people are really set in their conditioning and their programming, and it's very, very challenging, very challenging. But what I'm seeing in the last few years is more and more people are really opening up to the new ideas, especially the people who start cleansing.
Yeah, well, most people have no idea. That's one thing we want to keep in mind. Many people have no clue. They have no idea. So once at least they listen, and maybe they might change their mind. You know, they might be open, but they never listened to this before. So we want to be, we do our best to get the message across, and whoever is ready to receive it will receive it, right? And will start transforming.
Yeah, this is the beauty of everybody sharing, because we're picking up information from everybody's experience, and it's amazing what we're learning. If you listen to me talking today versus me talking when I started sharing, you're going to hear a different tune, different story, different information. It's always evolving and expanding. It's never the same. The basic fundamentals, what we're using to cleanse, are there. But the knowledge that we keep adding and expanding on is different. We just keep expanding it, and this is the beauty of everybody sharing their stories, so we can gain more and more of an understanding. I never really talked about the beginning because the people weren't ready about all foods, we don't need any of it. I went into it a little bit, but I kept expanding on it little by little by little by little. We'll go further and further as we gain a little more of understanding. The more we fast, the more information comes through. It's all there for all of us, and we all have access to it by going within. And for me, it comes in the times I fast. When I eat, it's not there for me. This is me. It's just not there. But when I fast, you'll know when I'm writing messages on the board if I'm fasting. Because it's different.
So inspiring, Gino.
Yeah,
this is so inspiring. There's just a whole nother level now. Just this bit right here. I'm really going to look into the dry fasting.
Yeah. Little by little, baby steps.
Yeah.
One thing about dry fasting is it's the most powerful form of cleansing the body. And when we cannot handle dry fasting, it tells us something. It tells us that there is lots of work to be done. And yeah. I haven't gone past 3 days. I started the massive fast more than 2 years ago. I haven't done more than 3 days. I would love to go more and more. It's not easy. It's especially when you take a break from them and you go back, you want to build up to them and slowly make it a habit. Once you do, let's say, 48-hour dry fast, you do it maybe, once a month, maybe, do 48 hours. After 3 months, you'll feel like it's a piece of cake. Or it's much easier, okay? It's going to be much easier. So you keep practicing. And after 1 year, it's going to be nothing to you. To do a 2-day dry fast is nothing. Just like 24 hours. I'm sure your first one was not very easy. And then slowly, it became easier, right?
It's always a challenge for me.
Oh, still, yeah. Amazing.
Change the words.
It was a challenge.
Instead of saying it's always challenging, say the ones I've experienced were challenging. Just change words. This is the beauty. We learn. I can only share through what I've experienced. That's all I can do. I can't share anything else. I don't. I can't share my experience of living 100% for many months. Nothing, because I haven't done it. But I can share my experience on the part-time that I'm doing it, and that's all I can do.
It's amazing, though. It's amazing. It's something to look forward to, and there's something inside of me that knows it's right. Everything you're saying, Donna, everything you're saying, everything. Some of the things that I read on the board, it's like it is spot on, and I get this tingling of knowing. And every time dry fast comes up, yes. And then there's that little mechanism. So I just know that's just that little piece that just, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to try 48 hours, at least go to 36 for a while and then go 48 on a regular basis and kind of change things around. Because I feel that's sort of where I'm naturally progressing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like in meditation, when you reach a certain point and then there's this fear that comes up that you are going to die. And then you just keep on meditating until that particular wall, that vibrational wall disappears. Yeah. It's the same principle. Like, I know this is right. I know this is right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We will all surely die.
One thing about the dry fasting you will find, I found at least, there are two things. One thing is how toxic the body is, how clean or toxic the body is. If it's very toxic, it's going to be very difficult. And the other thing is the belief system. If you believe you're going to die, it's going to be very difficult for you to do a nice long one. So these two things only happen with practice. So the more you practice, the more you believe, oh, this is easy, I can do this. Whatever I learn is incorrect, and I can do 3-day dry fast, and I can work out while doing it, and I can work full time, and I can do everything. And so you will, it comes with time,
Yeah, a simple test to see how toxic somebody is put them on a short fast, a dry fast. The sooner they have, crazy reactions and so on and so forth, the more toxic.
Mm.
It's a simple test. How toxic are you? Let's put you on a dry fast. Let's see how long you can go comfortably. Then that's a good gauge for toxicity. The body immediately, when we stop ingesting, it goes into the purging elimination mode. Mm-hmm. It happens very quick on a dry fast. Probably in just over 24 hours to 48 hours, you're in that deep purging mode. And in that mode, the body is going to rid itself of anything it considers it doesn't need, want, or can use. And it's going to start in certain areas first. If your GI tract is full, right, backed up with a lot of food, what's going to do? It's going to concentrate on that first. Because the GI tract, I like to call it the plasma vacuum tube, because it is a vacuum system. There's nothing penetrates matter through our GI tract. It's going to focus on clearing that first, because that's where the field interaction happens a lot between all the organs and glands. There's a lot of field interactions going on through that GI tract vacuum tube. And if there's matter in there, even though we've converted into GANs, we have interactions that are being interfered with, especially when you have old stuff sitting there for a long time. and the body can't function properly, can't create hydration, can't create this, and that. And that's why you see when people start doing mineral supplements, vitamins, they start getting some results. You know, the hair, nails, and skin gets better, blah, blah, blah. They stop doing them, what happens? The body goes back. Because the body can't create it on its own because it's obstructed. So when you're in that purging elimination mode through fasting, the body's going to focus on clearing that out first. This is why we are doing things, are getting results much more than I've seen anywhere else, is because what do we focus on? Clearing the GI tract on Master Fast. Master Fast is a glorified dry fast, but we're getting amazing results in Master Fast because we're going back and forth because we're focusing on clearing that crap, helping the body with all our tools. Mm-hmm. That's what the key is, and having the organs and glands coming back online, purging them as well, right? Because it's all happening all together. So this is the key. This is the key. And you know, how toxic are you? Let's see you do a 5-day dry fast. Let's see if you can reach 5 days comfortably.
Whoa.
My first 3 days was tough. First 3 days. I've been fasting for years. You know, I'm not dry fasting, but fasting in general for years. My first 5 day was really tough. The last 2 days, I was barely able to walk. You know, in Italy, 12 days dry fasting, riding my bike uphill, 5 kilometers uphill, swimming in a cold sea, doing yoga. It was tough for, you know, a couple of days here and there. It was tough, but I did it. And I've done many 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 days. I don't remember how many last count. I don't keep track anymore. And we continually do it. And the only time the dry fasting gets tough is when we put obstructions in our body. That's when they get tougher. When we move into the more denser, heavier matter foods, the dry fasts get harder. If we keep the diet clean, mostly on fruit, the dry fastings are not difficult at all. So, you know, as individuals, we can only decide, do we want to keep experiencing that or do we want experiencing that? Which you have the choices, which way to go all the time. So, what else did you resolve anything else besides the inflammation, Vima? Bowels work better, digestion. You mentioned also your voice.
Well, my voice definitely changed. It was clearer, no phlegm. The tone is different. How I feel whenever I'm doing a performance, so to speak, I always feel that I'm in communion. I'm in communion with the universe, in communion with God, in total communion. And the clearer I got, the more absorbed and immersed I was in that pranic energy. And there was definite clarity that came out. I could feel it. I could also see the difference in how I was projecting to the audience. You know, commonly I don't pay attention to the audience, although I know they're there and it's there, but I'm so absorbed in that space. But when close to the end of a concert or something, I see, and I can see it's like balm on the audience. Yeah. I think as an artist, the greatest reward is not necessarily the praise, the work, or the price of the price of the ticket, so to speak. It's really the value of what is given and received with an audience. Mm-hmm. And I could see that value had shifted exponentially. It had shifted in a very beautiful way.
How about your senses? Eyesight, hearing, taste buds, smell, you know?
Couple of things I wanted to mention. I'm going to go into that, but weight. Some people will go into a fast for the purpose of losing weight. And that was not one of my objectives, although I did need to lose weight. But to me, it was a matter of internal balancing hormonal things, any water retention, things like that. So there was not a whole lot of weight loss until I was finished with the fast, surprisingly enough. Then it started trickling off. Another thing is the condition of my fingernails is much different. They're much smoother. They used to have ridges. People say, oh, that's a magnesium deficiency, et cetera, but I don't know what's happening, but my nails, I don't keep them long because I play these stringed instruments. So my hair, I hadn't noticed much about that other than it's gray and I'm embracing it. And
this has happened during the fast or after the fast you started noticing?
During the fast, I noticed gradually as I was cleaning, things were manifesting cleaner. Didn't have the ridges. The voice was different. My sense of connection, which I could talk about forever in a day, that had changed. But you asked me something earlier. I forgot what it was, Gino, I'm sorry.
About the senses?
The senses, definitely. Hearing, speaking, but the other thing is I've always liked to go silent. Whenever I'd come home from a tour, I'd always like to go home and be quiet, not talk to anybody. And this time it's something that is now integrated because with the fast, I didn't have the mana to interact and engage and do what I had done before. I realized that was unplugging a piece of myself. So as I was fasting, I was more and more quiet. And it's a beautiful thing and really came to appreciate and relish the silence like it was food itself, like it was actually nurturing me. And that in turn had that reciprocal relationship with no food again. You know, the no speaking, the no output, the no food. It was just like, harmonious, much more harmonious. And here again, I feel, although there has been 108 days, you know, I did the 108 days, still, I feel like I've scratched the surface. And one question I have about the dry fasting is, I know there's a wet dry fast, like with showers and things of that sort. Going into the ocean, because I live a couple, 5 minutes away from the ocean. Sometimes it's a lot of fun, I haven't taken that little element for granted. So on a dry fast, can I go into the ocean?
Well, I did that on my 12 days there. I started, I think it was day 7 or 8, if I remember. I started dipping in the ocean. It was amazing. Awesome. It's they don't like there's people, putting all these severe technicalities to this dry fasting. I was the one who, introduced taking the herbs, the tinctures. Do they hydrate you? Water doesn't hydrate you. Juice doesn't hydrate. I've talked about that. They're only helping aid us. They helping aid the body do its functions, what it does naturally, which it gives us everything we see. So these are just aids. And we work with things that are going to give us the best results. The best results. So if you can do an extra 2-3 days on a dry fast by dipping in the ocean, do your dipping. Go as long as you can dry. This is what I experimented with, and then start experimenting with the little things that we've suggested. Go dipping here. Believe me, it's gonna boost you, and you're gonna want to go more. That's what happened to me. The herbs, even drops. At the beginning, I was just rinsing my mouth and spitting them out, and then it came to me, what happens if I take them on a dry? And then I experimented, what happens if I take more herbs on a dry? And it dried me out more. So don't do more than half a dose. See, I push myself to when these questions come to the surface. And the questions come to the surface for a reason. Because I need to find out what's going to happen. So, people want to experiment further and whatever, and, that's okay, but you need to be doing it with prudence and wisdom. So I pushed doing more tinctures on a dry fast, and they dried me out more, a lot more. Because, it's alcohol. We're taking just pure alcohol in. So, we don't need a lot. Even drops will open you up, because as soon as a drop touches your tongue, your emotional body, etheric bodies, everything, they're taking on the help of those herbs. They don't only work on the physical. They work on all the other levels. And the other levels are more important than the physical, because the physical is the aspect of the soul. And that's, this is what we're made out of. Whatever the soul is, intent and emotion is what we are manifested as. So, there's so many things we can do. Forget about these technicalities that people put on themselves. The dry fasting has to be like this, or it's not a dry. Okay, for you, that's the way it is. This is master fast. We create our own reality. And we get more results than anybody else. Why? Because we don't put these limits. We find something, okay, let's add to the knowledge. Let's add to the knowledge. Let's add to the knowledge. That's all we keep doing. For people who have been here since the beginning, have seen how Master Fast has grown. Because of that, we don't hold to anything, because it's everything in the universe is continuously in motion. There's no stagnation. When you hold on to something, you're stagnating and you can't grow, no matter what it is. I called myself vegan for many years, more than 9 solid years. I continued, probably 10 years or more. I called myself a vegan, a raw vegan. I left that title away because I'm not that title. We're, nothing wrong. If you want to, that's fine. I have nothing against it. If you want to live that lifestyle, there's nothing against it. It's beautiful and everything. But I'm working on the principles of the universe. I'm not limiting myself to nature, because nature works under the principles of the universe, not the other way around. And this is the thing with the cooked juice, that some people can't let that go. It's not raw, it's dead. You can't kill energy. You just don't have an understanding how to use it, my friend. And that's okay. That's where you're at. We're showing by results. And just to give you a little examples, I'm no better than anybody else. I've just allowed myself to escape the Ra's Law thing. I was an anal raw foodist, boy. You put anything cooked in front of me, I'd take your head off, pretty much. I was an anal raw foodist for over 9 years. 100% wouldn't even think about touching anything cooked. And the cooked juice, it had some screws and gears winding for that one until the understanding opened up to me. Wow. Now I see it. Now I see it, and here's Master Fast born for, it's funny the way things happen, But I didn't do a cooked grape juice, Concord grape juice fast in 1990 for no reason. I just didn't have an understanding back then, but it took me 20 whatever years to figure it out, 25 years or so. To gain an understanding, the information is always there for all of us. So I just look at things a little differently, stubborn in some things, but it was for a purpose, for everybody to gain to have a benefit from the information. That's all it is.
It's amazing.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask you a question, but go ahead. I will ask you after.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, so I was just gonna ask you, did you do enemas every day?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, yes. I've been accustomed to colonics and enemas, and I was the year prior, well, I was home a few months, but I had done a series of 10, how do you say, ozone colonics
Okay.
Mhm.
that a friend of mine had set up in her little retreat center. And I did a series of 10 of those before I started the master fast.
I
So
love ozone.
Pardon?
Is it also insufflation or was it water, ozonated water?
Water with
Yeah.
ozone, I guess, in it.
Yeah.
Something like
Yeah, you bubble the ozone, or you do it through Venturi. Yeah, ozone. I love ozone. That's people will call it an isolate. Yeah, it's an isolate, but it's in a plasmatic form.
Mhm. And the beauty of that was made me aware that I had a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff had to go. uh, even after all of that. So I didn't do any major colonics, but I did quite a few enemas and high enemas and things like that. But every day, even on days when I started feeling weak or sick, magic medicine hit the enema bag. It was that it's perfect,
Yeah.
absolutely perfect, because it's almost like that weakness is like a filter that takes over, and the enema removes the filter. It removes the stagnation or whatever you may want to call it. But enemas were regular,
Mm.
consistent, even to this day.
How many colonics? How often?
Um,
Colonic.
I didn't do any major big colonics other than 2 of them in the 108 days, but I did a lot of enemas, but high enemas as well.
Awesome.
That was really helpful. And my bathroom here is not large enough for a cleaner board, but I've got that available for, in the event I go. But I'm pretty amazed at what came out. I've been doing enemas and colonics for years. Nothing. I've never seen anything up until I started the master fast.
Hmm.
That the results of what came out, where did this come from? I just did 10 days of ozone colonics. Where did this come from? I was just blown away, by what came out of my system. And I still feel there's more to go. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It comes out when it needs to come out. It's a lifestyle, and
It truly is. It
yeah.
truly is.
You can't be any other way. You go back to your old ways, you're going to quickly go back into the old ways. Its body will go back within a year or two to where you were worse very quickly because of the memory in the cells. So it's this is the way it is. It's we all have that free will to do what we please. But I've always suggested from the start when we started sharing the master fast, this is a lifestyle. I've been fasting for 27 plus years. It's been a lifestyle. You can't. It was always because I used to do every season change, all different types of fasts with different juices, water. I tried a little bit here and there, but all different types of juices and stuff. And the recently released MFS colon feeding protocol. I've done that in the past. But we just wrote it out because people need to be able to read it. But these were always available, and I've suggested to people in the past when they couldn't hold things down. So these things are all things that I've tried, and they're true and they're tested. So practicing all these years, no matter how clean I ate, all those years on raw food, my body always craved and wanted those season change fasts, and I would rejuvenate every one of them. It didn't matter how clean I ate. So the whole new understanding now is because we're not supposed to eat. We got to create our own energy. We don't need to consume other living beings, no matter what beings they are. Animals, plants, insects, whatever. We don't need to consume them. We just need a new understanding in how to live without consuming anything. And it's going to take some time, but it's going to come quicker and quicker. I think in the next few years, you'll see more and more people moving into the light. It's happening. It's happening. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. I feel that it's my contribution to the planet as well, even though it's very much an internal journey. But I feel that, again, the proof is in the pudding. And the more I do, the more I feel the subtle as my reality more than the gross, that this in turn does have an impact on my energy, and it comes through for others when they see it. And you just don't have to say much.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's just like all those beautiful people on the Facebook page, you know, all their experiences and what they're going through, and people that have done the 108 days, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. It's like you can really see the light and the luminosity of who they are.
Oh, yeah.
Genuine.
Yeah.
You know, this is a real...
I suggest everybody take a close-up photo of their face before they start, and at the end. And even you can even do that if you go get a colonic. Take a photograph, close-up of your face before you get a colonic and after. You'll see a difference in one colonic on the fast.
Amazing. Amazing.
You know, it's about washing. That's all it is. It's about washing. It's never about addition. Water is designed to wash. That's what we need it for, to wash, not to drink. You know, you got these big, huge standing trees, and the laws of physics say that how can a tree pull up all that water up into its furthest branches? How does it do it?
It's all there, and it's interesting, you know, having been exposed to different so-called spiritual practices and living in those environments. The ancient rishis and yogis knew all this.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more clear.
It's been there, even in the, you know, in the Islamic teachings. There's Ramadan. The thing that I observed about Ramadan, though, was people would eat a lot of food after the sun went down. But still,
that's not the teaching, though. That's not what they're teaching. Somebody told me it's only supposed to have like a few dates or something.
Yes, right? Yes. But
it became a culture, you know. This whole feast after we break the fast is a cultural thing. It's not really the religion. The teaching is wisdom. You know, it's wise. They don't teach us to overeat the way we do. I mean, there are dishes that we make specifically for Ramadan, like deep fried stuff. I mean, culturally, deep fried food. You know, that we specifically eat in Ramadan back home. Yeah, I mean, it's just it takes away from the purpose of Ramadan, which is cleansing your body and your soul. You know?
Yeah.
Everything, your emotions, you clean everything. That's the purpose of Ramadan.
It's all there. It's all been there, and I really feel that Gino and Rana, what you are doing is creating a paradigm by which it introduces a new, well, actually, ancient futuristic paradigm of existence, and that it's right there, it's provided, and all the principles of the universe are embodied in the practice, are experienced in the practice, are experienced in the process. It's all there, and opening yourself up to that vast intelligence is just amazing. And then physically leaping into it, it's like, who am I all over again? And then it gets to a point where you don't even need to ask. It just is, you know. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I'm so blessed to be a part of this. And I'm very deeply moved that you even asked me to come on an interview. This is just wonderful. And I loved what you shared about dry fasting. It's just like, that's kind of given me another breath of inspiration there that I can work with. Thank you. Mahalo.
Thank you. Thank you. It was an amazing Zoom.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you got to let us hear some of your music. You got any CDs and stuff?
I have so much music. I did one. I'll send something to you. I'll just.
Yeah, my sister's an opera singer.
Acha, okay. And does she work? Is she in Europe or is she?
No, she's here, but right now she's taken a kind of leave of absence for a while, especially after I introduced 432 to her. They were all closed-minded over here, the opera places that she's working with, and to change. And she's seen a difference immediately. She would have to, for a recital, she would have to practice all day to do a recital. 432, no practice at all. Instant, no stress in the vocal cords. You know.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, like I got introduced to 432 in around 2007-ish. My friend, an Omega 432, he's been researching it for like 30 years now. And there was not much on the internet about back then. And then started getting more and more. And now there's tons of information. And there's people bashing that. And it's another frequency. They just don't have it. 432 is the number of creation. You don't need to go anywhere else. It's all within there. Because the frequency in general is limited to matter state. But when you're using 432, oops, the dog's barking. When you're using 432, you have all within that, the creation. So everything is in there. Everything is in there. But when you're using other frequencies, individual frequencies, it's like, how can I say? It's like using extracts of chemistry, like vitamins and minerals. Riley, it's nobody here, it's me. It's like using extracts of chemistry when you're using single frequencies. But when you're using 432, you have the whole of the sum. Everything's there. It's beautiful. And naturally, you know, the voice, human voice, the animals, the way they their sounds, it's all into 432. The size of the planets, the distance of the planets, all intertwined with 432. So, you know, anybody else can argue whatever they want, but there's no argument for me because we've done a lot of experiments and tests, and everything works better with Divine Nine. Everything, by far, no comparison.
Well, it's interesting. I was in Australia, and there's this place called Fraser Island, across from Harvey Bay, where I was staying. Went to Fraser Island, and it's an amazing place. But they've got these massive trees. And I could hear a circle of circades singing. So one group would sing, and then the other group would sing, and it would just be like a circle of sound with the circades. So I decided to wait till this group was skipping over to this group, and I sang a little chant right in there, like a little sonic chant right in there. And it was rhythmic. And so we went around again. I got my chant in there, went around and got my chant in there. And then it went around again, and I paused, and they were waiting for me. I just thought that was just amazing, that we're all part of that. We're all part of that frequency and the beauty of connection with all creation. And I think that, how do you say, third dimension consciousness and people are really at effect by, a lot of people are kind of at effect by being duped. And when we expand, oh, I could just say when we do this and when we do that, bottom line is just be.
It's all for a purpose. It's
Very,
all for a purpose.
yeah. I could go on talking about all of that, but I truly feel it is all the experience of who we are and doing things to create that experience of being much more aligned in the subtle and the truth of who we are in our existence, more so than all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. All right. So we'll bring it to a close unless anybody's got a quick question. It's past the couple-hour mark. And we thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe, do you have any music on YouTube, maybe a video or something that maybe we can listen?
Lots of things on YouTube.
Okay.
Lots of things.
Yeah, maybe.
I've got website. The music is on website, on my website. Under music. I've got books and courses. I had a course that I was starting. Well, actually, I did 2 retreats called Light Frequency Nurturing. And it is all about fasting. And it is all about using sound as medicine, et cetera, et cetera. But after the Master Fast, I thought, I'm not going to do any retreats until I go through 1 or 2 more of these, because I thought having it down as fasting and this and that was it. But boy, I'm a student all over again, and I love it. I do have music on there. Yep. And I'll send a couple things to you. We'll just exchange emails and we'll see. And yeah.
Great. Thank you.
All right. All right. So thank you again. We'll bring it to a close, and we'll see everybody on the page. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, day, wherever you are. And keep that plasma love flowing. And just drive to those goals. Nothing else matters. Peace, balance, and correct conduct for all beings, living, non-living, throughout the universes for perpetuity. That's the goal.
Awesome. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Aloha.
Ciao.